Hello, I'm Keith Davis, and I just wanted to come on and make a short video. Bless some people that maybe have lost a loved one. This is my testimony of the count I had concerning my dad and his transfer from this earth to his heavenly home. And yes, I was reading that. I have a web page set up that where I share, and it's in very brief form because I don't like to drag things out. I know that I speed a lot of videos up because I can gain more information in a shorter period of time, and so I try to respect that in others. I want to basically just read this off because I spent a lot of time wording this to shorten it in such a way that I could get the message across without taking a lot of time. I did share this story with a lady that had lost her dad in a short time before I had met her, and she started crying. So this really blessed her. She told me, "Thank you for sharing it. Maybe it'll bless someone else." So here we go. Okay, one evening I was about a mile from home when I received a call about my dad at age 58 having some sort of trouble not being able to talk. At the time, I lived next door to my parents. Uh, insert this. This has been about 24 years ago. I rushed to their house, and at the time, Dad had regained some strength, and he said he thought he would be all right, and he advised us not to call an ambulance. I prayed with him a few moments, and he seemed like he was all right, and I almost went home, but something inside me made me stay. I then told my dad I loved him, and he said, "I love you too, son." Uh, Only a few minutes later, Dad cried out, "Sweet Jesus," and died. I told my mom to call the ambulance. As I was trying to revive him, they came and tried as well, but to no avail. My dad was with the Lord. My dad, by the way, was a very godly man. He was a minister most of his life, and he was a very good example to me. I agreed pretty hard the next 6 months, and then the following 6 months seemed not as intense, but I eventually became adjusted to this life without my dad here on earth. By the way, my dad was very close to me as my dad. He was my best friend, and we also worked together. So there was like three people there. I had a lot of dreams where I saw my dad in them, usually at a group gathering. He would just be there among the large group of people, and I would look over to him in these dreams, and I'd think, "I love you and I miss you." And he would always just smile, and I would discern him telling me this was like telepathically. We could understand each other's thoughts. No words were mentioned. He said, "I know you do, and it's going to be all right." We never actually talked in those dreams. It was as if we were just reading each other's thoughts. I guess I should just read this and stop pausing. Uh, anyway, I just had to switch over to make sure I could still be seen on the screen here. Yeah, I remember all at once. This was okay. This was one night. I was asleep, and this was either a very elaborate dream or else it was a vision. And I really think it was the latter, a vision. But uh, it was very, very real. And I'll go ahead and read. I remember all at once being in front of the very, very elaborate entryway of a very large building, at least 2 stories tall and also very long. It had those doors that were tall and had the fancy glass over the top as well as in the doors, and very rich looking. Somehow I knew this was my dad's home, and as I knocked at the entry, I fully expected someone that I did not know to answer, and I figured I'd have to ask them to go and get my dad, but that wasn't the case at all. The door opened, and it was my dad answering the door himself. This is in heaven. I was very surprised for several reasons. One is that, as I said, a home of this caliber, you might expect a doorman to answer, yet here was my dad. Also, I had never seen my dad dressed in such attire here on earth. The clothing looked like something a billionaire here on earth might wear, and I never knew dad to wear much in the way of jewelry here, but he was wearing gold around his neck and wrist. The smile on my dad's face was radiant, and there was not the least hint of pain in his face. In parentheses, I put, "My dad never complained much, but much of his life, or he never complained, but much of his life, he had to deal with arthritic pain, and it was visible in his face a lot of the time. That was when he was here on earth. But in this vision, he wasn't holding his wrist. He used to hold his wrist kind of like this when he was talking. And I just got used to it. Well, he wasn't doing that, though. And he had jewelry on. I'd never seen him wear jewelry really much. It's maybe a wristwatch. Also, because of arthritic pain while on earth, my dad would hold his wrist, mostly unconsciously. And during this visit, he wasn't holding his wrist. It was a glorious sight to behold. I only got into the entryway of his home, and I never went any farther into the home. But I began to discern his thoughts, and it became immediately apparent to me that he was involved in something. Something there, maybe some kind of work or whatever. I have no idea of what, except it was the Lord's work of some kind. And as I asked him, through my thoughts, of course, when I asked him about it, he just smiled real big and said, yes. But even if I tried to explain it to you, you wouldn't be able to begin to comprehend the first thing about it. But when you get here, you'll understand. I must have left shortly after that, because that's all I remember. It really blessed me having witnessed that scene. I came away with more comfort about my dad, and it has helped me in my life as I've missed him a lot. I believe God gave me that to comfort me, and it has very much. Now, that's just the short version. My dad and I were, like I said, very close. I don't like to just read things, but sometimes it's better if you're shortening up things. Almost 7 minutes. So it would have probably taken me at least 15 to say all that. The reason I'm giving this is because for two reasons. One, as I said, it might comfort somebody that's recently lost someone close to them. And the other one is this shows the fact that my dad, that I knew of his close relationship with God, this was at the time, it still is, this is the worst, the most difficult circumstance I've ever been in all my life that I can remember. There was one other circumstance I remember when I was a child. I lost a dog that I was very close to, and it just somehow inside of me, it just almost, I would say it almost killed me, not literally, but it's something inside of me. It's like something inside of me almost died, because I was a young child. I was about 8 years old, and I lost a dog I was very close to, and I cried and cried and cried. And that's the only experience that's even come close to when I lost my dad, and it was a horrible thing. But the fact that I knew that he was in the presence of God, the fact that out of pain his last words were, "Sweet Jesus," and that's when I suppose his heart exploded. That comfort to me is, I think, what helped me to get through that. It still took me about right at a year before I could resume my life to not be continuously just constantly bombarded with this. It was such a hard time. I had to continue working too. The first 6 months was just almost unbearable. I just can't explain. I can't describe it. But the fact is, the reason I'm sharing this, the second reason is, any of you that your family does not know that you have a close relationship with God, if you don't, you need to get one, number one. But number two is, they need to all know this, because people that love you and care about you immensely, if something happens and you're gone before they are, they're gonna struggle terribly. You can make it so much easier on them if they know that they're going to see you. Basically, that's the two reasons I made this video. I don't want to drag it out. I want to thank all of y'all that watch the videos. God bless y'all. If any of y'all are suffering through anything, I just pray God's peace and healing and health and life comes into you right now and ministers to you, and that you're better because of it. In Jesus' name. Thank you for watching, and God bless all of you.